two incidents that have brought out the red flags were braking zones rather than acceleration zones. It's not cars spinning as they accelerate out of slow corners. That down there.
Just simply trying to carry too much speed is what it is. I mean, they both lost it under braking,
yes,
wasn't
and an element of aquaplaning possibly as well.
Right. You know, it is really wet out there, so easily done. It looked like we didn't see Tony Vilander spin, did we? It looked like it was. I don't know whether he lost it under braking or whether he lost it in the middle of the chicane. Now, I fancy he might have lost it in the middle because the glimpse I saw of the car was kind of toward the exit of that bus stop chicane.
Should tell you, by the way, that Jan Magnussen's done the best GTLM time before the red flag, a 2:05.979. That's not quicker than Norbert Siedler's time, though. Missed out on beating the best GTT time by 0.2 of a second. Second quickest in GTLM, Fred Makovici in the 912 Porsches. Porsche, the two works Porsches didn't really do much at all in free practice too. I think they were keeping their powder dry and well aware that an accident might happen, so they didn't push really in that session.
It was the same at the Raw as well. In fact, the Porsches were sort of never up towards the front, but never far off the pace either. It was so closely matched at the Raw. Everybody was talking about, well, everybody's sandbagging. You know, he's sandbagging, he's sandbagging. But at the end of the day, they were incredibly closely matched, so they're all sandbagging to exactly the same degree.
Which seems unlikely, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, you know, I think it shows that they might. Certainly, I don't think anybody was pushing as hard as they could do in the raw test. No question about that in my mind, judging by the lap times. But they were all very, very closely matched, and I think we can expect that going into the race on Saturday.
But in first practice, for example, the 912 car was third fastest, the 911 car was seventh quickest. They were nowhere near the top 10 in free practice too, and I just think the strategy was let's dabble with this session but not really go for any times.
Yeah, I think quite a few people weren't really pushing hard, were they? I agree.
Yeah. And then this session is arguably wetter than any of the earlier free practice sessions, and this is the one that matters, of course. So it's tough.
Significantly wetter. I think you're absolutely right. And just judging by the pictures down there in turn one, as the flatbed truck is out to retrieve the SMP Racing Ferrari.
There is a pond next to that Ferrari,
yes.
And understandably, that car's just
with waves on it.
It's gone skating off, and unabated speed, I would imagine, into the tyres, which are backed with concrete walls, I would say, concrete blocks that no doubt have been pushed back a few feet as well.
Yeah, you can see how the tyres have been bowed there. You know, the car obviously went in at a pretty good lick.
Well, it came through at the end of a quick lap, and I think the 72 was about to go on to another one, in an effort to try and get pole.
It was just about to start its first flying lap there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that car had gone out later than everybody else. So I don't believe, well, he hadn't, I'm pretty sure, turned a timed lap prior to the loss. He was just going into his first flying lap. Didn't he make it really make it to turn one, quite frankly?
No, and 2 minutes prior to that, I'm sure turn one was nowhere near as treacherous as that, and every time you come round, the conditions have changed again, so difficult to judge. I was impressed with the cars following through after the 72, actually being able to turn left at turn one and skate their way out into the International Horseshoe.
Jimmy Bruni shown at the wheel of that car.
Of the 72?
Yeah, crikey, that's a surprise.
Yeah, it is a surprise for him to make such a mistake, but even the super pros, if you like, are vulnerable, I think, in these conditions that are so hard to judge.
I agree.
So, plenty of emergency vehicles down there at the moment, more so to kind of protect the car and to get it onto the flatbed. Jimmy's out because they're stretching this car now up the ramps and onto a flatbed trailer.
Yeah, we've had 5 minutes and 8 seconds of green flag time in this GTLM session. The clock currently shows only 4 minutes remaining, so unless the session is extended, perhaps we won't get in the full 10 minutes to make this GTLM session official. That would be a shame.
Ollie Gavin on board the number 3, by the way. Third fastest of the GTLM machines, but way down behind a good gaggle of GTDs.
Jan Magnussen, he was flying, wasn't he? He was on a mission right away off the green flag. He passed the Risi Competizione Ferrari of Tony Vilander coming into the tri-oval on the outlap, and was clearly on the case right away. and turned that 2 minutes 05.9. He was the second best lap by Fred McAveeky is a 209.2 on his first flying lap. So yeah, that was he was right on a mission there, was Jan Magnussen.
And Ollie Gavin, I should say, in the 4 rather. I was mislabeling those columns there. Third in class, but in the number 4 Chevy Corvette. And Dirk Werner in the 25 BMW M6, fourth fastest for the GTLM, so 2:14.910. But Gavin and Werner behind over 10 GTD times that were set in much better conditions. It's brightening up a little bit, I would suggest, although the rain is still coming down at a fair rate of knots. We may not get any more of this GTLM session. As Jeremy says, a shame. But we may have some improvement for the remaining 2.
Yeah, there is some there is some margin built into the schedule. So with a bit of luck, we will be able to get this back and get this completed. But there's still a fair bit of cleanup still to be done. Now the car has barely yet been moved. It's got a couple, 2 front wheels on the ramps to go up onto the flatbed, but we're going to be several more minutes before we get this car out of the way.
Yeah, rear wing certainly no longer there. I'm just trying to assess the rest of the damage. It's difficult because
can't see it all coming. It's all on the left-hand side of the car. The car buried into the tyres on its left. So it's done a kind of presumably pretty much a complete
I think
180 at least.
Yeah, it's just broken away under braking, or perhaps just that input of left-hand steering necessary to get it into turn 1, and the car's snapped around. Very similar to what happened to the 62 on the far side.
There's the wing.
Oh yes.
Detach head.
So that is retrievable for SMP Racing, but no doubt a damaged part, and the supports as well will need replacing.
Finally now the car beginning to be winched onto the flatbed.
So
attractive colour scheme on that car, isn't it, with the red and the different shades of blue along with the white there. Really is a good looking car, very distinctive of course for SMP. The BR01, BR Engineering 01 P2 car will be part of the prototype ranks this weekend as well. Pretty much the same livery.
It's also very similar though to Ford Chip Ganassi Racing, as John pointed out earlier on. So as we go into dusk and then to dawn, it may be pretty tricky to tell those 2 cars apart on the back straight.
3 cars apart, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out how to tell the 2 Fords apart, actually.
You have the 2 DPs in there as well, because I have to say the Rileys look very similar to the Ford GTs, as you would think, from the same team.
Slightly different blue on the Rileys,
Okay,
the 2 prototype cars from Chip Ganassi Racing. One has
blue front,
and the other one
has a red front.
Yeah,
it's
but
run like that for many years, hasn't it?
I wish they'd done that with the Ford GTs as well, but they haven't. And I guess there's a red rear wing on the, I guess that's number 66 car, I think. So maybe that's the difference between those 2 cars.
Graham Goodwin showing me a photograph of the Ferrari over there, and front right looks to be out of alignment, so possible suspension failure as a result of that crash as well, maybe. Hub failure, something like that. Are we saying cause or effect? Difficult to tell. But I think it's all about the rain, yeah. So now that scene showing signs of people dissipating after the collection of a rather battered and bruised Ferrari. Don't like to see a brand new car 488 looking like that. You give a sort of wry noise there, as if it's not a great.
Glad I don't have to pay for it, Johnny.
True, yes. It'll polish out, Jeremy. It's absolutely fine.
Oh man, they're going to fish it out of the lake down there and bring it back to the pits.
Yes. So that wheel looks in alignment, I would say. The rear right and the left-hand side, though, of that car pretty damaged, particularly the rear left corner. So it'll go back now to the paddock for SMP Racing, stroke AF Corsa to assess, and we hope to see that 72 car out for the race. I'm sure it's no question about it being out for the 24 hours.
Well, I would hope. I mean, there can't be an awful lot of spare parts on those cars. Brand new cars, of course, the 488 for this season, and as John was saying a little while ago, the number 62 machine for Risi Competizione just literally delivered yesterday or the day before to North America. It had a shakedown, however, at Fiorano at the factory in Maranello in Italy, so it's not without any running, but the good news is, as you were suggesting there, they've got 2 days now to prepare this car pretty much for the race. less a couple of 3 hours. So assuming there's nothing really substantial in terms of suspension damage or chassis damage, that should be plenty of time to repair that car.
That doesn't look too bad. I think the cushioning effect of the tyres has done that car a favour.
All the body work on the back there, it's all crumpled across, and it broke the wing off, and these things they tend not, maybe sometimes not to look too bad, and then you start taking the bits, take the skin off, and then you say, oh dear, there's that bit, oh dear, oh whoops, there's another bit over there. So hopefully it'll be not too bad.
Yeah, the only issue that I can see, gentlemen, for that, not necessarily with the car, but with the drivers, because they won't be able to do their nighttime qualifying. And James Collado, for one, has never raced here before. So that would be interesting to see who, if anybody, gets a waiver. We've got one of the PC cars trying to join in at the end of this session.
So IMSA tends to be more lenient. Le Mans is definitely very much sticklers for that sort of regulation, but here with the fact that James has done 24-hour races, particularly at Le Mans, with the association there is these days between IMSA and the ACO, Club to the West at Le Mans. I'm sure there will be a waiver applied there, and I'm sure he'll be fine. But if he wasn't as an experienced driver as James and the other guys on that team, it would be very much a headache.
Graham Goodwin suggests it's the 88 Starbucks Motorsport Oracle that tried to join in there. Mark Farmay, Sean Johnston, Mara Engel and Felix Rosenqvist.
I just wanted to play a bit early.
Taking off there.
Trying to go out?
Yeah,
it was in the session.
It was going to the end of pit lane as the lights went green.
Let's get going.
Car, racetrack. I'm struggling to hold back. Let me out. But their time will come in a moment or two.
Felix Rosenqvist, he's still on the entries for that car, isn't he? And he's been busy this week. He's done a couple of days of testing in an IMSA Lights car down at Homestead the last couple of days. Actually set the fastest time. So the reigning champion of the FIA Formula 3 series in Europe, and also the two-time winner of the Macau Grand Prix, really begin to make his mark here in North America. He's not yet decided on his full-time program for 2016, but testing the waters there in the Indy Lights car, driving, I believe, for Bilardi Auto Racing, and setting the fastest time yesterday, about 300 miles or so south of here at Homestead Miami Speedway.
So, sky looks brighter, track not really improving, and looks very, very damp offline.
Just as grey as it was.
I mean, the good thing is the banking drains well. Once it stops raining, then that should dry up pretty swiftly.
The banking drains well, you're right, but the infield doesn't, because it is very flat out there, and there's very little camber on the road, so that certainly takes quite a bit to dry out, and that transition off the banking into turn one is particularly treacherous. Just ask Jimmy Bruni, and there's another car going a little bit wide there into turn one. Was that one of the BMWs? Going a little bit wide, and also the transition onto the banking at the exit of the end of the infield section is particularly treacherous as well. And then of course the bus stop chicane at the end of the back straight, that is also tricky, because there's again virtually no, well, there is no camber in the road, because you're turning across the oval there onto that little bus stop chicane to the left, then to the right again, and left back up onto the banking. So it really is tricky around here.
Another chance for Dirk Werner to improve on his time, doing a 2:14.9 earlier on before we had the red flag, and it was a similar time to Ollie Gavin. So the BMW M6 is out there. The 912 Porsche also circulating. That was the best placed of the works Porsches. Fred McAveeky still at the wheel.
And hats off again here to the organisers here, the stewards, the race stewards, because rather than just call that session to a halt, they've extended the time limit, and now we've shown us 9 minutes completed in this session. So the drivers are going to have time here to complete this lap and maybe do one more. The checker flag will be out by the time they complete this lap, but maybe time to do one more to get around and set one more flying lap. So again, hats off to the stewards here, Bo Barfield and the race director and the rest of the team. Hats off to them for making that very smart decision. Let's give everybody our money's worth here. Let these drivers get on the racetrack and try and settle this on track for the positions to start the race on Saturday.
Splishing and splashing its way through the
it's
bus stop
brutal out
chicane is the number 4 Chevy Corvette.
Was that right up against the banking coming off turn 4, coming towards now in the tri-oval? Was it on the Fords?
Ollie Gavin, by the way, at the wheel still of number 4.
Really a tight line there. Kind of James Weaver line, if you like.
Yeah.
Right up against the wall, all the way around the tri-oval as well. Deep onto the brakes there into turn 1. Just think that was Joey Hand, who just came across the line, moved up into briefly into the 3rd position. He's now tipped down a position by Oliver Gavin in car number 3. So it's Jan Magnussen, whose time set earlier on was quickest, but now guess who's to the top of the charts?
No surprise to see Nick Tandy on board the 911 Porsche to go quickest. John Edwards in the number 100 BMW going second fastest to 202.497. Alessandro Pierguidi in the 68 Ferrari third quickest to 203.309. But as I say that, Fred Makovici joins the sister car at the top of the time. So Tandy and Makovici, 911 and 912. And the Porsches, I mentioned maybe keeping their powder dry earlier on this week. They're coming to the fore now and they're wet, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think Makovici just went straight on there at turn 1, so I don't think this time is going to be an improvement. He's coming now down into the... It's sort of difficult to see the cars now. I'm pretty sure that's a Porsche, and I think it was Makovici, so I don't think he'll see an improvement, so that's probably going to be the best he will do. The checkered flag is out, and so these laps, I didn't see when a checkered flag came out, to be perfectly honest, but I would assume, by the way Makovici went into turn 1, that he was still looking to try and get another lap in before the session is ended.
Should just mention, by the way, it wasn't the 88 PC Orica that tried to join the session. It was actually the number 20 BR1, and the 66 Ford GT has gone off track. The exhaust spitting flames, trying to rejoin. The water will put those flames out very quickly. Off onto the grass it goes.
That was a scary moment for a couple of guys behind him there, because they had to take evasive action to avoid Joey Hand. He had he lost it coming through the bus stop, coming on the towards the exit of that corner, kind of in the middle of the whole thing, and that will cost him any chance of improvement. There's an improvement there for Dirk Werner, moves himself up into 5th position. Number 62 Ferrari of Tony Vilander, he moves ahead of Werner into 5th. There's a Corvette of Oliver Gavin, good enough only for 7th place.
So Tandy, Makovici, John Edwards in the number 100 BMW Team RLL M6. New for 2016, as so many of these cars are. Tony Vilander behind Alessandro Pierguidi. So Ferrari, BMW, Pierguidi, Vilander and Dirk Werner. And Werner, although improving his time, now suddenly finds himself 6th in the class as opposed to 4th as he was for so long during that red flag.
What a great lap from Nick Tandy. 201.408, almost a whole second in hand over his teammate Fred Makovici. Wow, that is just stunning. This guy driving just now with so much confidence. Had a wonderful season last year, of course. Won Le Mans 24 Hours, won Petit Le Mans at the end of the season. Well, not only in the class in GTLM, won it overall. And he is just riding the crest of a wave, quite literally today. But in terms of his confidence, just magnificent effort again from Nick Tandy. There's Patrick Pilet on the pit wall. I think he's pretty impressed as well.
Gets out, says, I've done it again, haven't I? I kind of tried my best and it was good enough once more. And yeah, he's becoming known as a rainmeister as well, isn't he, after Petit Le Mans last year, winning such a big race in a GT car. But he's the most grounded person you could wish to meet, Nick Tandy.
3 poles last season for Nick Tandy. Has had another one now, and yeah, that's mighty impressive. The only other guy to win more than one. I think he was the only one to win more than one pole last year, wasn't he? No, Oliver Gavin won 2 poles as well. Forgive me.
Very little warning Joey Hand had of that spin, exiting the bus stop chicane.
Just trying to get on the power coming off that corner there, and as he turned right for the second time to go back up to turn left onto the banking, the car just got away from him, and a couple of cars behind had to take pretty stout evasive action.
I think that was probably the sort of thing that happened to Tony Vilander in the 62 as well. Just caught one of those damp patches as the selfies are taken down at Porsche Motorsport, with Patrick Pilet taking the snap. Nick Tandy yet to take the helmet off, but will do now, together with the hands device. A 201.408 puts that car quickest in GTLM. Shea Adam can't be too far away from getting the interview with Nick as well. Fred Makovic, a 202.364, puts that car second, and the 100 car, BMW, driven by John Edwards, third fastest, a 202.497.